You'll give me the hook because I say so. It's not a toy.
Oi! Mietek! This flunky wants to show us his pecker in the bushes.
The Thaumaturge has been on my radar for quite some time now, and since we're in between two big releases for the channel, now's the best time to cover it. It's a CRPG based in Poland where you play as a smartass with dark powers. Released in March of 2024, it was developed by a team known as Fool's Theory and published by 11-Bit Studios. Right now, they're not that well known, but they are currently working on the Witcher remake, so you'll be hearing more of them as that title gets closer to release. As for the Thaumaturge, there are some interesting concepts here and hints at greatness or things that can make it really stand out, but it never really hits its full potential. The year is 1905 and you play as Victor Shulsky. Victor's bond with his Salutor has been dwindling for the past several years, and he has returned to his home country, Poland, in search of a spirit healer in order to restore this bond. Poland is currently split into three pieces, each occupied by either Prussia, which would later become Germany, Austria, and Russia. It wouldn't be until after World War I that Poland would regain its independence, and this game takes place over the span of a few days. So this isn't a game about starting a revolution, but rather a period piece that helps you understand what life may have been like in the early 20th century. Our protagonist, Victor, is what's known as a thaumaturge. Thaumaturges can feel the emotions a mundane object might carry with them that were left by anyone who was in previous possession of it. If he were to pick up a bottle of wine, he could tell if the previous person holding it was happy and celebrating or depressed and trying to drown out emotions. In other words, he knows before he looks into the bag if they forgot his nuggets. Not only that, thaumaturges can see flaws in people like malice or pride that attract interdimensional figures known as salutors that feed on those flaws. He can use this knowledge to pull on that flaw, take it, and in turn gain another Salutor. So calling the game a Polish Pokemon wouldn't be that far off. In this small village outside of Warsaw, you're able to find the spirit healer, and it is no shit, Grigory Rasputin. Now that your bond is restored, you're put through a tutorial level to learn what it means to be a thaumaturge, gain a new Salutor, and return to Warsaw. Since we have a title here that released more recently, it looks pretty damn good. Victor and the supporting cast had the most work put into them when it comes to models and texture work, while the more minor characters are close to that standard, but you can notice some quality differences here and there. Texture work in the environments is outstanding though, and it's honestly a shame you can't look around in first person at times because the work here is great. The main draw of the game, the Salutors, each are excellently designed and are all based off of folklore from various cultures, myths, and religions, like the Slavic Bulkovash that hunts down humans and livestock in the dead of night, or Krampus, otherwise known as Pepsi Santa. They all present as esoteric beings with many more outside of your grasp, teasing you of what else is out there. Sorry to spoil things, but you won't be able to run into Mothman or Chupacabra, but hey, that's fuel for another game. During your time in Warsaw, you'll mainly be hearing the bustling city streets around you. Now most of these won't stand out from ambience from other titles, but it does get the job done. One thing I will say here is that guns have more oomph to them than other recent titles I've covered. It's important here that they do, since more often than not they're dealing significant combat damage in a game where melee is your main option. So with how heavy and powerful guns sound, it's emphasized that they are a problem and you have to deal with them right away before things get out of hand. For the voice acting, however, none of it's terrible, but more often than not something will catch your ear and you can tell that the supporting talent they hired wasn't the best.
A friend of Piotrus's. You can ask, just be discreet.
What about Tadeusz Pielecha? Do you know anything about him?
What a miserable chap. No one could ever cheer him up. It must be really hard for his wife now. A friend of a friend saw him in a moonshine often. A local joint.
You can tell she's reading lines from a script, and some of the other characters give that impression as well. The quality of writing is also all over the place. It really shines when you're investigating an item and feeling what it's trying to convey. The doll is caked with a hard crust of fear. Its layers are like the varnish of an age-old painting. A child's fear, a girl's terror, a young woman's dread. They form a cocoon smelling of turpentine that constricts the throat and forces tears from the eyes. You get writing like that when looking at a book, and then you get some dumb shit a side character might say, and you wonder if the same writers wrote the dialogue.
Done. The wheels are in motion. I'm accepting compliments.
I could kiss your forehead. How did you manage to do that?
It turned out Neumeier had a purebred horse. It was worth enough to re-employ all the people he had fired. So he decided to sell it.
How generous. And voluntarily, of course.
Of course.
Believe it or not, I've been quite busy myself. Listen to this. Spirit King and Phantom Prince. Or better yet, Poet and Pilgrim. Get it?
You're the poet and I'm the pilgrim because I've traveled a lot?
You bet. And fuck that guy with his WS. So see you around, Pilgrim.
Victor and the main cast, however, do a fine job in their roles and sell their characters well.
Master Victor, let me guess, have you come for some hot cocoa?
Will there happen to be anything stronger?
I see you're all grown up. There's still a little homemade liqueur if Judge Voronin's not polished it all off. Help yourself.
Have you found anything yet about the grimoire? Is there any way I can help?
In Father's study, I found a trace of a woman that I couldn't identify.
Probably Svetlana Rumiantseva.
Who is she? And what does Father have to do with her?
Svetlana is a Russian aristocrat who travels with the Romanovs' court. I can only tell you she was a customer of Father's.
A customer? If you don't want to say, then don't.
Because you're a sort of supernatural detective, the ambient tracks more or less fit into that esoteric sphere of noise that complements the game as you're exploring. Most of the areas you explore don't use music to fill in the ambience, so you'll maybe only hear 2 to 3 tracks in total while in the streets. On the other hand, the combat tracks are packed with energy and add a lot of suspense to the combat. Then you have your more story-driven tracks that may only accompany a single side character or plot thread that sets a tone for the scene. Overall, the music is good, but you will be hearing the same 2 to 3 tracks quite often. Since the game is based in reality more so than other titles I've covered, pre-World War I Poland looks like how you'd expect it to. Cobblestones pave the roads, the bazaars lined with vendors, and the fishing district is caked in mud and the buildings look like they're barely holding together. The exterior environments have a great amount of detail put into them, and that extends into the interiors as well. The devs went out of their way to try and copy the more notable locations in Warsaw one-to-one to the best of their abilities, and you can see how much effort and care they really put into these areas. As for the more minor interiors, they're really well done also. As for the playability of these areas, well, this is a CRPG, so don't go in expecting a ton of playability. I know Baldur's Gate 3 allows for some shenanigans here and there, but the Thaumaturge isn't trying to be that. There are no traps or hidden rooms to find that can help out in a fight or anything like that. Everything you see is what you get. That doesn't necessarily mean you should ignore everything and only focus on quests, because there are collectibles out in the world to find in the form of outfits, ambient quests, which are one-off fights, or notes and clues leading you somewhere to collect a drawing. There is a day and night cycle, so seeing these places at different times of day does help the monotony of running back and forth through these areas. This also serves the purpose of allowing ambient quests to be started, since some of them are only accessible during certain times of day. Besides exploring the world, there is combat in the game, and you're either going to hate it or you're just going to tolerate it. All the combat actions are determined by the timeline at the top that tells you when attacks come in. The combat loop comes down to you studying enemy attacks and maximizing your actions. Along with that, your attacks can all have passives attached to them that can change the flow of combat, like interrupting enemy actions or doubling your damage. Once you really get the hang of combat, you can drop an enemy's focus, making them vulnerable to high damage finishers or moves that apply numerous debuffs. The combat system is engaging, but don't expect anything too exciting or flashy. At the very least, it's giving Pokemon a run for its money. Speaking of Pokemon, the Thaumaturge you gather throughout the story can help you in combat. These guys can be freely swapped out during combat encounters, so you're able to use all the powers at your disposal. Most of their powers are less so about dealing direct damage and focus more on either multi-turn combos or healing you. Listen, this bird is the most powerful Thaumaturge in the game. The second you're able to get him, get him. Since this is an RPG, you'd expect there to be an in-depth skill tree for you to sink your teeth into. Instead, it's very bland and is mainly focused around those passives I was talking about earlier. Aside from upgrading your own focus, health, and unlocking passives, this tree also improves your 4 disciplines: heart, mind, deed, and word. These determine whether or not you can look deeply into objects and uncover the clues hidden within. These disciplines also help out in conversations, as well as Victor's flaw of pride. Pride offers special dialogue options that can take you straight into a fight or help you get your way when confronting someone. Each time you choose a pride response, you feed Victor's flaw, which towards the beginning of the game amounts to nothing. But towards the end, if your pride is too high, you're locked out of some dialogue options, and you can even be forced into the pride option without having a choice. This creates some unique scenarios, but again, these mainly happen towards the end of the game. There is no post-game to the title. The closest thing you get to that is a warning at the end of Act 2 telling you that you're about to cross the point of no return. That's the best time to find any collectibles you may have missed or finish up any quest you haven't yet finished. Unfortunately, there is no New Game Plus, and I doubt you'd want to play it through a second time anyway. If you're meticulous enough, you'll experience most of the content in one playthrough. However, there are 5 different endings with a few variations to each. That's not really a satisfactory reason to replay the title, considering a second playthrough of the game is a tall ask. You could try different passives for your attacks, but that's not really a good reason either. So because you're a smart person and understand how RPGs work and also want to get your money's worth, you'll most likely be doing every single side quest and side activity this game has to offer. I did, and after almost 30 hours I finally made it to the end. I knew going in that I wanted to be overpowered from the get-go, so I went out of my way and completed every side quest as they popped up, so at the end of the game, I knew it was solely on me when I lost a combat encounter, so I wouldn't be second-guessing myself as to whether or not I was leveled enough. I'd recommend you to do this as well, because the side quests do give insight to how people lived in that area. What's really great here is that going out of your way to do these side quests doesn't feel like it's messing with the pacing of the main plot either. Most things don't connect to the main plot, but they don't feel like they're a waste of time either. Guess what? We got another Unreal game, and of course it comes with all the expected baggage. Frame drops, instability, and general wonkiness here and there. So when loading into a new area or watching an in-engine cutscene, be ready for some texture pop-in and whatever else the engine might be doing. God, I hate the Unreal Engine. During my playthrough, my PC crashed several times, and I originally chalked it up to my PC starting to show its age. While writing this script, I played the credits for research purposes and yet again ran into another crash. Take what you will from that. I can't definitively say that it's the game causing these crashes or if it's the Unreal Engine itself or my PC's age, but it's something you should be at least aware of. The main plot here is something. At its core, it's about finding a black grimoire your father left behind for you after his passing, with things unraveling and becoming more complicated from there. It's kind of interesting if you beeline it through the main quest, but as I said earlier, you might be struggling by the end game if you do that. Like I said a minute ago, I did every side quest and ambient quest that popped up, so naturally I forgot some key things as I was going along with the main story and things became disconnected. This is important to bring up now, since while you are most likely doing those side quests, you'll forget the main plot as well. It also doesn't help since the journal is awful at keeping things organized, so following those threads in a concise order is a bit of a challenge. One final thing that I should bring up is that all it takes is a single conversation to lock you out of an ending you may want. I'm not saying to follow a guide to get the best ending, which I don't think there is one, but there are some that are definitely bad endings. I can't really say much of anything else because we'd be entering spoiler territory at that point, so go to here if you want to hear my final thoughts. Upon returning home, Victor sees how the citizens of Warsaw are reacting to the Russian occupation before attending his father's funeral. After the memorial service, the family reunites to hear the reading of the will. Victor is hinted at an uneasy relationship with his father, and nothing else in the game explains it more than this scene.
Therefore, my first irrevocable wish is to appoint as executrix of this will my daughter Ligia Szulska. Immediately after my death, an inventory shall be conducted in full accordance with the law. After completing the inventory, all my personal movables will be sold at public auction. And let the funds raised thereby be donated on the anniversary of my death to the beggars near that cemetery. The administration of the remainder of my fortune I leave, without restriction, to the person of my daughter Ligia.
I'm not even getting a teaspoon.
All movables and immovables relating to the family enterprise I entrust to the care and administration of my daughter. I do not prescribe a method of administering them, I merely offer her one piece of advice. I wish that the business should be conducted with modesty, prudence, and honesty, as I have conducted it my whole life.
A joker to the very end.
To my brother-in-law and oldest friend, Alexander Voronin, I wish to leave the following: my collection of muskets and 2 revolvers, dating to the uprising in memory of our first mating.
Stasio, I will have plenty to do in my retirement.
Enjoy your retirement.
I would also like to come to the aid of my only son, Viktor Szulski, by entrusting him with the use of my personal black grimoire, in the hope that he will be able to make good use of it. This is my last will and testament. Carry it out solemnly, though you may have found it burdensome. However, this last bequest poses a certain problem.
Yes, it certainly does. And what is that, may I ask?
I am not in possession of this grimoire. The late Mr. Szulski used it up until his death, yet no one left it with me after his passing.
Meaning it's disappeared?
Your main objective from this point on is hunting down this missing grimoire. The journey takes you all across Warsaw, tracking down who could possibly have the book. With no direct leads, he begins exploring Warsaw, making connections with old friends, building new friendships, solving murders, and gaining a few more salutors. While attending a soiree, Victor's lucky break comes from a woman who was formerly romantic with his father and who is willing to give him a lead as to where the grimoire may be. The only stipulation here is that she won't speak to you until the party's over, so you have to come back the next day. You return the next day and discover that she's being held up by some Russian intelligence agents. You put the smackdown on him, and then she moves the goalpost. In order for her to tell you anything, you must secure a way for her to escape the country. After a round of Polish fight club, you get a ride for her, and she tells you how Victor's father was in a coterie of revolutionaries, and that's it.
Thank you for everything.
Wait! Who are these people? How can I find them?
I don't know. They hide in the shadows.
So we're back to square one. While Victor is conducting his investigation, Rasputin has his own motivations and seeks to become a major power in Russian politics. Whenever you talk to him, he leans on you to confirm in front of others his capability of healing people and his mysticism. This goes so far as to quote-unquote heal a child who's a thaumaturge by using Victor to take the child's flaw, effectively portraying himself as the second coming of Jesus. After tracking down several leads, Victor confronts the last living member of his father's coterie. This is a brief back and forth between the two that ends in a seedling of forming a new coterie and our first look into a potential ending. Victor catches a case of wrong place, wrong time that lands him in the Citadel where he must escape. His way out of the situation is by convincing another thaumaturge to let him free by offering her a seat in the new coterie. She agrees to let you go as you proceed to ransack the place. It turns out that you're not here by happenstance either. The man interrogating you has been following you, all the thaumaturges in Warsaw, the previous coterie, and anyone who would usurp the Russian rule in Poland. In his office, you find files of all those I just mentioned and your father's grimoire. After escaping and meeting with the coterie, your first major decision of the game presents itself. Abandon the coterie or abandon your friend Rasputin. He's throwing a party, and before you can even decide whether or not to end the friendship, something interesting happens.
Deal here, Grigori. I'm interested in the results.
Amen. We'll talk more about the future soon, my friend. But my bladder's calling. And Victor, I am telling you now before it happens, so that when it does take place, you may believe that I am he.
Water! People, give me water!
Is he dead?
He's dead!
I've got you. It's okay.
Upon recovering in your family home and finding out that Rasputin died, you finally get to make the decision of sticking with the coterie or picking up where Rasputin left off. In my review playthrough, I chose to follow the footsteps of Rasputin because he promised that I would become the most powerful thaumaturge in all of Russia, then the world. Once you've collected yourself from previous injuries, in order to become the most thaumaturge of thaumaturges, you need to present yourself to the Tsar at the nearby party in order to gain his favor. You break into the party, and just as you're about to make yourself known, some wild shit happens.
Do not fear. I am with you always, even until the end of the world.
Stay where you are, or I'll send you to hell once more. Wasze Imperatorskoe Величество, he's a dangerous man. There's no telling to whom he sold his soul to be here.
Нет. Grigori Yefimovich Rasputin, я слышала о вас. Come closer, please.
The upcoming conversation segments are fucking stupid and not explained well at all. Throughout the game, I aligned myself with Rasputin for my own personal gain. Even though in this scene I raised him up to be a miracle worker, he betrayed me, which led to a final boss fight. The conversation options leading up to this moment barely hint at what you're actually doing. By this point in the game, I wasn't going back to change the conversation option, and I just fought Rasputin as the final boss. It's a rough one, but doable even on the hardest difficulty.
Wasze Imperatorskoje Wielичество, you summoned me.
I want you to look into him for me.
He didn't know anything.
So, go and find me the real ringleaders. Kravavi, Thaumaturge. Don't fail me.
And we desire that every one of you show the same diligence to the full assurance of hope unto the end. That ye be not slothful, but followers of those who through faith and patience inherit the promises.
So I got what I wanted. From this point forward, Victor was known as the Bloody Thaumaturge of Tsar Nikolai II. I hate to say it, but the story really isn't all that memorable. You're a guy who happens to be a thaumaturge in a time period before shit hits the fan. I'm not saying it should be action-packed where you make earth-shattering discoveries, but there's no substance here. It would be one thing if there were numerous factions of thaumaturges all running shadow governments of some kind influencing world politics that played into the predicament Poland was in, and you're playing a role in one of those said factions or something. But the game makes this setting and story feel like a regular Tuesday with maybe a twist here and there. They absolutely hint at it, but it's inconsequential to the game outside of an ending. You could say that the Thaumaturge's past persecution is the reason they aren't going crazy with their powers, but it just sets up such a boring plot. I get it, the plot is about how Victor interacts with the world and loved ones he's reconnecting with. It's just boring though. You don't have a real goal you're working towards, you're just doing things because. The game is just okay. It's worth a run through if you're dying for an RPG, but don't expect it to blow you away. Yeah, some parts of it are boring and repetitive, but somehow it keeps you engaged to the end. I'm hoping that after Fool's Theory finishes the work on the Witcher remake, we get another entry into the series, but hopefully one that isn't locked into one region. If you're on the fence about playing it yourself, you can always wait for a sale and give it a try then. The tutorial zone does show you all the game has to offer, so after you've completed that area or just before you hit the 2-hour mark, you should be able to make an educated guess from there. The Thaumaturge isn't going to knock your socks off with its setting or gameplay loop. It's not going to raise the bar for other RPGs to come, but at the very least it's a competent title. Sure, the combat does get dull at times and can feel like a slog once you've gotten the gist of it, but exploring early 20th century Poland and seeing how global influences are affecting its culture is interesting to see. At the end of the day, the game is an RPG that's really just okay, which isn't a bad thing, but if you never pick it up and play it yourself, you won't be missing out on much. While the systems it has work and provide a flow to the gameplay, you're more often than not left wanting more.